All right, hey, Mike McGrory here. Mondays with Mike. It is the end of June, June 26, 27, something like that. So I've got a bunch of Japanese maples that were bald. I had them like under a shade tree, but they started to lose their color. So I'm moving them over here, making this my sales area. Now we dug these. Some of them we dug last November. Some of them we dug real early this spring. You have to dig them when they're still dormant before they leaf out. And knowing that I wasn't going to sell them all right away, when I dug them, I put them in a poly burlap. In other words, it's a burlap that's made with a plastic type material that doesn't rot. And this is kind of a pretty good example, because what I did is I healed these in early this spring, and now I'm just moving them over here. And we collect, actually, if Amber shoots down through there, you can see that there's a lavender twist redbud in there that's got weeds and stuff hanging out of it. What I did is when we were cleaning up the container area, everything that I took out of the container area, all the weeds, debris, leaves, I just brought it in here and dumped it on these balls, because by covering these balls with leaves or anything organic, it holds in all the moisture. The plants do a 1,000% better. And I'm going to actually pull this one out, because this one was healed in over the other side of the nursery, and you can see all the leaves, all the roots that came through this burlap just this spring, because it was covered with leaves. Now, so again, this is a poly burlap, and then I put enough plastic down so these things can't root into the ground, but there's also space in between them so that the water doesn't stand and create a mosquito haven. So basically that right there is going to shade that ball. It's going to hold in some moisture, and this will be our sales area. They're out here in full sun, so they'll color up real well. And to dispel the myth that about never ever overhead water Japanese maples, this came up in our members area the other day, and the only thing I've ever done is overhead watered my Japanese maples, as with all my other plants. Every nursery here in Lake County, we have over 85 nurseries that produce $85 million worth of nursery stock a year. They know what they're doing. Everybody overhead waters. So you can look at these Japanese maples, they look great. Yeah, there may be a spot or two. It's worth it, because it's not going to hurt them at all, and it's really the only effective way to water plants without, you know, if you've got drip, that's fantastic, but you don't need it. I'm pretty sure that I will never have drip in this nursery, because it's just not worth it to me. So anyway, this is Butterfly. This is a beautiful upright Japanese maple. We've got some bloodgood in there. I've got 4 or 5 lavender twists left. I don't know, what do we have, 50 this spring? Probably. Maybe. Yeah, so that's, we got 4 of those left. We've got more in the field that we'll dig for next spring. There's a lot of Inibus shadare, which is a lace leaf weeping. And then there's green cascade way over at the end, which is a green leaf weeping. And then we got a couple of Arida and this Shiki in here that had this real pretty green leaf with the new growth comes out pink. So, but anyway, I guess what I'm really showing you is 2 things. One, if you plant something in a poly burlap, the roots actually will go through the burlap. Everybody will tell you they won't, but they will. So when I sell somebody this plant, poly burlap, the only thing I ask them to do is to cut the burlap at the top so that it can't girdle the trunk of the tree. The bottom, I tell them to leave it intact and let the roots find through there. Those roots come through as little tiny hair roots, and then they just open the burlap up. So I've been doing it that way for years and never had a problem with it. All right, let's talk about some purple Santuary cutting. All right, so basically these are some hardwood purple Santuary cuttings that we stuck over the winter. These are cuttings that I don't know, I probably took them in January or something, and all we did was dip them in a rooting compound. We had potting soil in these containers and stuck them in here, and they're rooting. They're still not fully rooted, but you can see that, you know, they're already putting on some growth. So there's rooting going on, but we probably won't pot these until sometime in July, a little bit later, because we want to get them completely fully rooted. So I want to show you my stock plants though, because I won't do these as softwood cuttings because it's just been too challenging for me. So I'm going to show you how I treat my stock plants, and so to get ready to take my cuttings for the winter. So let's head over that way. All right, so here we go. These are purple Santuary. We planted these, I'm thinking last year they must have been 1 gallon containers or something. We took cuttings off of them. Basically, I'm just going to let them grow, and by the end of the growing season, November, Thanksgiving, so they're probably going to be this tall with all these multiple canes. I won't touch them because I want real long canes, and then I'll cut them. Really, when I take my cuttings, and you can see here's where we cut them last year. way down to here. So we cut them down to about 4 inches. So this year we'll cut almost that low, maybe an inch higher, and we'll collect the canes and then cut those canes up into 5-inch cuttings and stick them like we did in the containers over there. This winter I'm going to try something a little bit different, something a friend of mine used to do years ago. He would take all of his Santuary cuttings, he would tie them in bundles about this big, all the butt ends lined up, and then he would put them over bottom heat using like a heating mat or any kind of a bottom heating system, and bottom heat them for 14 days, and they would start to callus up. Then he would take them and stick them in the flats, and they would actually root a lot better because of that 14 days of bottom heat. So that's kind of a trick on purple Santuary, something you may want to think about, is, you know, that whole bottom heat thing. But these are my stock plants. I've got burning bush in here. We still got to get cuttings. This is Java Red Weigelia. We've done the variegated Weigelia. We may do them again later when they flush out. You can see how hard we cut them back. So this is Java Red. We still got to do. We got some red prints. We got a ton of stuff that we still have to do in the way of softwood cuttings. But anyway, that's my strategy on purple Santuary. I hope you find it useful.